So now customers can not only look at solicited feedback like surveys, but bring that information together with social media, as well as all the other different channels that customers are talking to them and providing feedback. So that really drive my excitement for the customer experience space. And I decided to basically start a whole consulting company around it.
Welcome to the CX and Culture Connection, the podcast for CX leaders looking to accelerate value from their investments in customer experience and culture together. Today, I'm joined by Farzad, who is the founder and CEO of Farlinium, an innovative company that works with Qualtrics to help companies on their customer experience journeys. Thanks for joining, Farzad.
Thank you so much, Matt, for having me.
Always great to chat with you and enjoy working together. Why don't we get started, if you could share a little bit more with our audience about Farlinium. I know you've been involved in the customer experience space for a while, and there's a unique origin story here about how you got started with Clarabridge and how things have evolved with Qualtrics.
Absolutely. So for Farlinium, we are a customer experience analytics consulting company. We partner very closely with Qualtrics in helping customers set up and take advantage of a listening platform that can listen to all the different channels that customers are talking or providing feedback. And most importantly, to know what not only to do in terms of analyzing, but actually turning that information into insights that they can act on. That's not only going to better their customers' experiences and perceptions of them, but actually drive tangible and valuable return on those investments as well. So yeah, we're really excited to be doing this now for the last 8 years. I started the company back in 2016. In terms of, I guess, the origins of the company and myself, I started my career in analytics with Deloitte and IBM about 20 years ago. Really got excited about what the power of information could be if you're able to analyze it and really start to quantify the things that you should focus on. And about 2008, so right around 15 years ago, I was recruited into this, at that time, a small startup called Clarabridge. Very similar to me. They came from the origins of analytics and how to turn information into visualizations that humans can interpret very quickly and make decisions on, but they wanted to do that for unstructured data. So there was a big explosion at that time where customers were gathering not just what we call structured, but also unstructured data. And there needs to be some level of more sophisticated analytics that can be applied to unstructured data. Using concepts like natural language understanding and processing to be able to now turn that into information that can be analyzed. So I was really excited to join the company and start to look at ways that we can apply unstructured analytics. And at that time, there was just this growing need for customer experience practitioners and customer experience team to not just analyze the surveys that they were collecting, but also start to analyze the qualitative feedback that was coming from the surveys. So I think that was kind of the foray of us looking at these use cases for customer experience. And then from there, obviously with the explosion of internet, social media, and also the sophistication of technologies from analytics, that started to grow into an omni-source view. So now customers can not only look at solicited feedback like surveys, but bring that information together with social media, as well as all the other different channels that customers are talking to them and providing feedback. So that really drive my excitement for the customer experience space. And I decided to basically start a whole consulting company around it. And it's been really awesome to see how both the technology and industry has evolved in the last 2 decades that we're looking at.
Thanks, Farzad. I think it's really cool how you got involved in AI early, because a lot of the early use cases for mining unstructured data, particularly early on in the call center and with social, were leveraging AI before the whole recent wave that brought a lot of renewed attention to the power of AI. So given the front row seat you've had around the evolution, what are some of the key advances you've seen, in terms of the application of AI for unstructured data, both in the call center and beyond, past, present, future?
It's really exciting, Matt. It's awesome because I feel like AI has really transformed from just a buzzword, right, to actually being the heartbeat of any modern, not just analytics, but CX management programs that we're looking at, right? Now you look at the intersection of technologies around big data, right? How can we store vast amount of data in any format, whether it's structured, unstructured, audio, etc. You have algorithms, right, that have really advanced in terms of how you can mine and analyze that information. And now with the cloud, you essentially have unlimited computing power to really bring this stuff together. Large scale data, advanced algorithms to start to make sense out of it. And I think that that's just really creating, a groundbreaking ways for companies to start to look at an outside-in lens from their customer perspective. It was interesting because I read actually an article by Gartner a couple of years ago where they were saying by 2025, so that's not that far into the future, organizations that are really mining their service channels, right, by embedding AI and these types of technologies into it to better understand what's driving those conversations, can really find operational efficiencies up to 25%. Right? So by just embedding AI, embedding analytics into your service channels, you can really start to figure out ways to make things not only more efficient to create savings, but also a better customer experience out of it as well.
Yes, this is, you and I often talk about the quality management cycle, about how, there's an opportunity to drive continuous improvement and address the cost of quality associated with experience. And when people look at, the call centers example, they look at that and say, okay, you've got what's the first time resolution rate for calls, or what's the digital containment rate, which is the proportion of experiences that you're able to complete digitally without having to have someone call. And just those two examples often have a very high cost of quality associated with them, that results in a cost for the organization where they can save 10 to 20% of their call center costs, as well as the research and testing spend they do on their website for continuous improvement efforts. And then when you look at markets like healthcare and financial services or other service-intensive markets, there's a cost of quality that goes well beyond the call center that your customer experience, can improve. So I completely agree that this listening is like the gas in the tank that helps you to drive, it's in the engine that helps you drive continuous improvement in all those efforts.
Yeah, and it's amazing because if you think about like your cost of quality, right, and you run correlations of that against customer satisfaction, there's a very tight correlation. I mean, essentially, every dollar that you salvage, right, from inefficiencies, it could be redirected to further enhancing the customer journey. I always love to use like the Toyota example, right? They're well known for their focus on quality, right, and their lean manufacturing principles. As you look at emphasizing the removals of mudas, right? Like, so as you look at these wastes that they call, right, in an agile way, how can you start to create those efficiencies to take the dollars you're saving and put it back into your R&D, right, to really innovate the products and offerings that you have? I think we're seeing the same thing. Again, to us, what we've observed working with our customers, very direct line of sight to at least 20% savings available, right? As you look at your current processes, for you to understand where those mudas are, you want to have embedding of analytics into your processes, right? For us specifically, that's going to be your customer care, customer service channels. When you're embedding the AI, you're going to gain some initial efficiencies by not asking your employees or agents to have to now do the note taking for you, right? Because a lot of time right now, when you have customer service reps working with customers, they're maybe paying attention 80%. The other 20%, they're taking feverishly notes, they're looking up notes, they're dispositioning calls. When you infuse AI applications, that stuff now becomes automated. AI will do the listening, it's going to do the summarizing, it's going to create some of those notes that later those agents need. And then also from an agent assist, there's ways to apply AI once you start to create some of those efficiencies into how now to really look at your coaching programs for the agents and how do you not only train them ahead, but during the call as well by linking to those relevant articles, knowledge-based snippets, etc., that they can essentially have as a point of reference while on the call with you. And again, from a measurement perspective, what we're chasing or what we're looking at is at the end of that call or interaction, we want to make sure that the customer is satisfied with their experience. They got their answers in terms of what they needed. They got educated in case there's ways that they can do this themselves next time. And that will all then link directly to your first contact resolution, your handle time, and your overall customer satisfaction. And again, in a programmatic way, that's a 20% savings that you could be looking at from your cost center.
So when we're talking about listening signals, just to broaden this for the audience, you talked about an omni-source approach to listening, leveraging AI across unstructured data. And that includes your call center, voice to text transcriptions. It includes live chat, right? It includes chatbots. It includes messaging. So if you have like a message, like how, that somebody essentially has a chatbot to ask, how are things going? It's not you going to them to say you have a problem. They're coming to you to get. So it's the future of surveys is actually these kind of conversations. There's lots and lots of things that go well beyond the survey. So I'd love to talk for a little bit about why is the call center and the live chat such a valuable source of insights, not just to close the loop and have a better experience with the call center and make that fewer calls or better calls, but how do you actually take these insights and leverage them for your quality management cycle more broadly for the business, the outer loop feedback versus the inner loop feedback as the industry calls it?
Yeah, really good question. What we've observed is one from a listening channel as you start to tap into your conversations. And again, those are the sources you mentioned, Matt. They're going to be, your call recordings, your chats, emails, your case notes, any channel that your customers can reach out to when they have an issue, when they have a question. That information is collected, analyzed, leveraging AI. And what you're getting in a lot of our experiences, you're lucky on a survey if you get, I always tell people, take your qualitative feedback on surveys, which is telling you the why behind the score, read it out loud. You'll probably get on average about 5 to 10 seconds of feedback if you read it out loud in terms of what your customers are telling you. Whereas if you look at your interactions through those different channels, on average, you have 5 to 7 minutes of feedback, right? And the way those channels are set up, it's all around probing root cause analysis to address the issue. So you have this great dialogue of what the issue is, what the customer has tried, what are the steps it takes to solve it, and also are there ways that they can address this themselves or have a self-service channel to do that. Now you broaden this to look at all of the conversations across all of your agents. You start to really get better analytics that helps you understand your journey that you're providing to customers and where the frictions are. There's going to be markers there like effort and emotion to see what you're invoking in your customers based on the processes you've developed. And then you also have coaching opportunities because then your frontline team is there trying to solve the issues. Some are doing a great job. Some can require or can get a little bit training and coaching to do a better job. Now with your analytics, you can address both of those areas. And again, what we've seen is from an omni-source listening, if we proportionally look at the volume of feedback that you can turn to analysis, 90+% of that is in the contact center with your customer interactions. Your contact center is essentially the epicenter of your customer interactions. And there is already a reservoir of data that's being, collected from those channels. Your calls are recorded. Your chats are in a digital format available in those chat databases. And now what you could do is partner with us with Qualtrics to actually apply AI and natural language, right, to both collecting, analyzing, and then coming up with packaging and insights that will better both the customer experience as well as things that you can do with the frontline from a coaching and assistance perspective.
Yeah, so for service-intensive businesses like like healthcare, financial services, tech, the call center is an amazing source of data. And then there's additional data sets as you go into, beyond that may be relevant for certain industries more so than others, like social media is more relevant for high velocity markets like travel, hospitality, retail, and brands than it is for B2B manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
So there's differences in, but there's this epicenter, like you said, from the call center. If you haven't gotten all the juice out of the orange there's a lot of opportunity to drive incremental insights and link to your quality management improvement efforts. And then you can innovate and go beyond that in some of these other areas like ratings and reviews and social media and messaging and chatbot services as your experience moves to be, more with leveraging AI and personalization in those channels. There'll be additional listening signals that you can have as you mine those conversations. So there's a lot of opportunity to drive value here, but the call center is usually a fantastic place to start if you're just getting going. Is what we see.
And it's the cost center, right? And it's a real cost. I think that right now we're basically seeing three main trends as you look at that cost. One is how to create efficiencies in that cost, right? There's, again, a room of 20% efficiencies by injecting and embedding AI analytics to create efficiencies. There's a next set of improvements, which is how do you turn that cost center to a profit center? So we're seeing a lot of customers that are working with us and coming up with interesting cross-sell, upsell opportunities. So while you have the customer on the line, there might be an offering based on their sort of existing business with you that might make sense. It's a good chance to provide that, help them understand the value behind it. It's great for education, right? A classic example is, you have an insurance, God forbid you're in some sort of an incident, you have to file a claim. You always get that, hey, well, you can, opt in through text messaging, right, to file your claim, to get opt-in on it. So there's ways to kind of educate around that. And then the last piece of it is now how do you take those interactions and start to infuse AI during those interactions, right, to create more self-containment in terms of how we can self-serve customers in helping themselves, and at the right time injecting the human assistance that's going to be needed to ultimately resolve the issue, depending on the industry you're in and the processes that tie to it.
So for a lot of companies that are on their journey, their customers on a journey, but the company's on a journey too, right? They focused on setting up some of the basic technology. Maybe they have surveys or other listening posts in place. They're recording the calls, but they're not getting enough value out of that yet. How do you think about kind of getting beyond just turning on the technology? What are the ingredients in that recipe for success to actually build that quality management cycle so you're doing more than just turning on the technology?
I think coming down, top down, right, in terms of being customer centric, having a function that's going to be focused on that. Because if we look at sort of the current state of a lot of the companies that are, I would say, more on the starting side of the journey, that information sits in different departments, in different silos. They have their own analytics against their own KPIs, very inside out way of looking at it from existing processes. Whereas we look at other companies that top down are all about we're going to be customer centric. Not only is it infused into our mission statement, we're showing it with our executive assignment of a chief customer officer, chief experience officer, and a team that's going to be cross-functional to break down those silos and really look at not just the investment of technologies of bringing that information together, but how from a process perspective, they're going to be partnering across the business through some sort of a lean or agile-based process to improve the customer experience or the customer journey. So I think to your point, just looking at the technology to solve it is not going to be enough. It's going to be that top-down focus, having a team with a dedicated mission around customer experience and a way to engage across the business, right? To be able to really represent what the customer is looking for, whether the team or the company is currently oriented towards that or not.
And one of the things I'll share with the audience, and you can see the link here now for the webinar I'm going to talk about, but I recently, Farzad, led some work with the MMA Global, the association, on CX capability maturity. And we actually went out and looked to more than 100 companies involved in customer experience and looked at what defines a leader in CX versus other companies and built out a capability maturity framework for that. And it was really fascinating that, and if you want to check out the webinar, what you'll see is that the leaders were much more likely to have executive sponsorship for CX. So as you were just talking about. So that could be a chief experience officer, you report into the CEO. It could be the chief marketing officer sponsoring CX and has a CX team reporting to her or him. Or it could be even the chief digital officer, chief operating officer. The point is it's executive sponsorship, right? And or chief customer officer. There's a lot of C-level positions, and I think the title itself is less important than that there's executive sponsorship and commitment to the CX journey, like you said, top-down support. And what we also found, the reason I bring it up, is that companies that have a team dedicated are like much more likely to be successful than those that don't have a team dedicated. And then having that executive sponsorship where they've been at it for more than a couple years and they've got, the right number of employees, they're like 2 or 3 times as likely to be successful as companies that are kind of novices at this. So it takes a journey with executive sponsorship. And what I've found really powerful about Farlinium is the ability, to create that continuous improvement cycle. It's not just turning on the technology and implementing Qualtrics, but providing the ongoing support for the right use cases to drive value, and that's what I really enjoy. What do you see as some of the more attractive use cases to focus on? You talked a little bit about training and around, root cause analysis about quality issues in the call center. What are some of the other emerging use cases that you think are attractive that we're better able to tap into with this kind of quality management cycle?
Yeah, I think no shortage of them, Matt. If I kind of think about the history, right? So there's the one piece, right? So getting started, to your point, when you have that top-down alignment and executive sponsorship, have a team focused on looking at to measure and figure out what to improve in the customer experience. Yes, you need the ability to take advantage of AI-based technologies to tap into what's happening today, start to solicit and fill in the gaps of areas that you want to solicit for, and start to create basically a level of insights that drives engagement. So if we look at that sort of workflow, I think the size of the teams will get smaller in the sense of the effort that the team members need to do to gather the information and to generate the insights. So I see a lot of that starting to become more augmented with AI, a lot more assistance being provided by the technology. But the piece that is not going to be replaced by technologies, how do you now socialize that within these companies, right, to influence or to drive change? So I think that a lot of these teams focus are going to be, we're ambassadors representing the customers, needing to spend and invest time to let our other leaders know who we are, what our mission is, and why they should partner with us. And then they're leveraging the technology and augmentation of their team to bring that just the right set of information that is most pertinent to those leaders that they're working with. So I that's the world I see, where level of effort to generate the insight and to do the storytelling is going to go down. The sample sizes of the data are going to increase. And really the companies that are going to get ahead of this is with that executive sponsorship, creating a culture where these leaders have essentially a shared interest in wanting to listen to what those teams are generating and to start to create changes that are going to not only better the customer experience, but also drive better experiences for the company themselves as well.
What you're highlighting is the power of culture and upskilling as a multiplier, right? That if rather than, yes, it's valuable to have a top-down initiative to make a big push forward on the technology and process and getting insights and support. If there's a bigger initiative like relaunching a website or doing something that requires, a new business model or change to the way you run your customer experience overall. But there's going to be, the brilliant basics of lots of continuous improvements that get identified by your people throughout the organization. And this is where having democratic access to insights and having the right skills and the right mindsets, that clue consciousness to be able to spot improvements and take action on them. So if we have people who are clue conscious, who have democratic access to insights, and you have a culture that encourages that, that improvement cycle, you'll have far more ideas surface throughout the organization that get action on them than you will if everything's top down. So I think that's what's the cost of doing this, as you mentioned, is fallen. The cost has fallen and the quality is improved of being able to provide these insights. But what companies don't spend enough time on is actually the upskilling and the empowerment of the people to enable this to happen. It still rely on the big project, when in fact, what we really need to focus on is empowering and upskilling more people in the organization to have more brilliant basics occurring.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think it's the change management, it's the leadership buy-in, having the KPIs infused, right? The customer-centric KPIs infused into the business and sort of the plans, right? The performance plans that these leaders have, and then really doing more with less on the technology frontier. That's going to kind of, I think, be the norm as we look at the next 5 years.
I think from this standpoint, like one of the things I'm most excited about, Farzad, when I launched JourneySpark Consulting, because we knew each other before I launched it and we're collaborating even more now, is to embed change management and culture on a more ongoing basis in everything people are doing. That it shouldn't just be something you do for a period of time on a big, quote, transformation program, but it's something that you drive on an ongoing basis as part of your CX journey. And a lot of the CX investments are out there are either not spending enough time on change management or treating it as a one-time stakeholder engagement exercise, rather than actually trying to put in place this change management and continuous improvement cycle that you're talking about, which is woven into the culture and the organization.
Yeah, and I love that about our partnership, right? I think that it's been awesome to see how you can come in at that executive level to really coach and bring the attention, right, around that. And then from our perspective on the delivery, really now having insights that an organization is structured in a way to really take advantage of it. So it's really awesome to see the combination of those two and the value we're creating for our mutual customers.
Absolutely. And I know that the skills of your team are really valuable to help clients accelerate their progress on the journey, because working side by side with your people, not only does it plug a gap that they can make faster progress, but people learn by doing. So the coaching and development, just there's knowledge transfer, there's there's behavior adoption that happens from working side by side. So I think it's fantastic the way Farlinium can help companies accelerate impact and contribute to that ongoing change.
Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I guess you also have an interesting vantage point given the work you're doing with Qualtrics on some of the innovations they're doing. Farzad, particularly, one of the things that I find interesting about Qualtrics is their breadth across experience management and what they call cross XM, right? So you got brand, product, customer, employee, and there's a lot of attention now going into cross XM because of this CX, EX intersection. And that a lot of what we were just talking about with this, pushing it out, where those are employee experiences. Those are actually employees using the data and the insights to change the customer experience. And so I'd love to get your take on this fusion, the customer employee experience and the ability to drive that kind of cross XM discipline, leveraging AI and unstructured data in ways that we couldn't do before.
Yeah, no, we're very excited and bullish on our partnership. I truly believe that Qualtrics is in a position where they can become the central repository of all things customer and employee experience. As you look at the technologies, they're giving them the building blocks of collecting, and we're not collecting, tapping into those customer experiences. And not just customer, but experience as a whole, whether it's the customer, right, or the employees, and they're highly relevant to each other. And then I think what we're excited about is on the innovation front, as we partner with Qualtrics, how do you start to now take that central repository of the understanding of the experience for both the customer and the employee and start to bring that into real-time decisioning? Right. So as we think about that, if you have the repository, you have AI with the ability to essentially understand from it and start to generate things from it. How do you bring that into a real-time scenario? So some of the things that we're very happy to pilot jointly with Qualtrics is around on the front line, right? So a lot of the work we do on EX, CX is associated with the frontline teams. These are the frontline teams at the point of care, the customer care perspective. And again, if we're able to bring real-time information, it's going to be centered around how do we make sure they're able to respond to emotions with proven ways of scripts that are going to be best in terms of managing the emotion of the customer. How do they make sure along the way that they're giving information back in terms of processes to make things less effort? And then from a success perspective, how are they able to, whether again, it's that time of the right information at the right time to address the need, proactively know the other sets of issues that might come from the learnings we've had with other customers to address those things proactively. And if we look at the combination of those three, you have effort, emotion, and success. From the studies that we've seen Bruce do on the XM Institute, you're 4 times more likely to create promoters if you're able to build experiences that invokes the least amount of effort, emotion, with the lowest level of effort on your customers. So those are the things that I'm excited about as we look at the overall ecosystem from across XM and some of the things that we're getting a chance to work on directly with Qualtrics that are more forward-looking, in my opinion.
What can people do if they wanted to connect more with Farlinium and learn more about some of the ideas or insights? And you guys have your Clued In newsletter, you've got your website. What are some of the things, you've got an event coming up, what are some of the things people could do to plug in more with Farlinium and learn more about and keep up with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, we love a good conversation, right? LinkedIn, our page is pretty active. Follow us. As Matt mentioned, we have a newsletter where our goal is to really look at what's happened in the CX space and XM space over a course of a week to really distill and summarize the most relevant information for you all. And we also have our Horizon Summit. It's going to be essentially an invite-only summit in November in downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. that we're going to leverage as an opportunity to really let our customers talk about their journey, their programs around the areas that I mentioned, and bring others that are either looking to start their journey or want to really maximize the value of their programs. And we're just giving a format for people to have those discussions, to share knowledge and have fun at the same time, in a coastal environment in November. So if you're interested, go to our LinkedIn page, go to our website, request your invite, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. So, I mean, we're happy to have a joint discussion too. If there's anyone who wants to talk about any of the topics, we do that a lot. So happy to engage together, or feel free to reach out for Farzad directly as well. And another thing I mentioned earlier is, the MMA global study that I referenced on CX capability maturity. If you see that and want to dive deeper and connect to some of the themes we talked about today, that's actually something we can do as well, as weave that into a conversation we have about where do you go from here, given where you are today. The CX capability maturity study will give you a baseline of where you are and what some of the other people are doing, but you got to put that into practice yourself. And Farzad and I would be very happy to talk to you and your folks about how, where do you go from here, given some of the insights about your own CX maturity. So always love a good conversation, like Farzad said. And I really encourage you to reach out. I enjoy working with them, and Farlinium is my preferred delivery partner for Qualtrics. They do an amazing job. So definitely check them out.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Matt, for inviting me. I love these podcasts, and it's always great to chat with you.
Fantastic, Farzad. I hope this conversation sparks some great ideas for our audience, and look forward to the conversations.